Mini Minerva, providing enrichment and inquiry in a rapidly changing world.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kridos. I am an executive producer from Los Angeles. My official title is Vice President, Original Programming and Development for Technomedia.
Lisa is a multiple award-winning executive producer, showrunner, writer and consultant on lots of famous American TV shows.
Lisa has won 9 Emmys for her work, and in 2018 she was named one of the top 50 women in entertainment. Lisa has worked with lots of different television shows, including the news, entertainment and the American version of This Morning. What is a producer?
So as a producer, and I've been a producer a long time, you have to know everything that's going on. If it's a show, you're involved with the talent, you're involved with the writing, you're involved with the content. So it ends and stops with you. It's like if you're in trouble, it's your fault. If it's good, you kind of get the credit, sort of. So you are really multitasking and making 1,000 decisions at every moment.
A producer is someone who checks that everything is going to plan. They decide what is going to be on the show and the script for the presenters. They also make sure that all of the guests on the show, including the celebrities, are in the right place at the right time. The producer also helps to fix any problems that might happen when the show is on air. How do you become a television producer?
So it's actually a pretty funny story. I was a high school teacher like you at an all-girls school, and we had a mini-master where you could go and you could be a chaperone. So I was taking students to Los Angeles. I was 22 years old, and I didn't know anything about this business. Embarrassingly, I was at Universal Studios and seeing all this stuff, and I thought, wow, it'd be really fun to be a producer. So I taught one more year, which I love teaching, by the way, convinced my friend into moving here. We came here. I said, I know nothing about TV. So I was getting my master's.
A master's is a special year-long project you can do at university in a subject you're really passionate about.
And the professor said, it's all about connections in this business. If you know anybody, hit them up for a job. So in the break, I went up to him and I said, you're the only person I know in this business. Can you give me a job? And he said, well, come in tomorrow for an interview. And I got a job at the lowliest, like I was literally sweeping floors and then eventually moved up.
What is it like living in Los Angeles in the United States?
So when I first came to LA, I was the most excited about the mountains everywhere because I came from Florida. And then I found all the places that I had seen on TV my whole life. Sunset and Vine, Hollywood Boulevard, the Beverly Hills Hotel. And I was like somebody who had just, I'd never been to California until I was moved there, basically. And so seeing all those iconic places, going to Beverly Hills for the first time, seeing the hotels, like that pink hotel I used to see on Beverly Hills 90210, going to Hollywood Boulevard, the movie theaters, Grauman's Chinese Theater, the Walk of Fame where all the celebrities leave their footprints, Disneyland, like that was all everything you know and you hear about California. To see it in person was pretty exciting.
How do you make a television program?
So I can talk about morning television because I did that for 17 years. So you have sometimes an overnight crew, which usually the executive producer is not there at that time. I used to come in at 5 a.m. in the morning. First thing and there's no like, hey, how are you? You're literally hitting the ground running because you're going live in a couple of hours. So the first thing I would do is sit down, look at my computer and see what were the hottest stories, what everybody was talking about. Then go talk to the writers and figure out what's our point of view, how are we going to do this story, how are we going to present it. Then go to the talent, talk about what's their point of view and how we're going to present it. Then we would have on the board, there'd be a big whiteboard with celebrities. Which celebrities are we going to be talking to? Was it a Tom Hanks or a Britney Spears or Simon Cowell, whoever is on the board? Go to that producer and make sure, are you set? Do you know what questions you want to ask? Are you ready to go off the board? Then sort of the bell rings and you go in the booth. And that's when you're live in the booth. And that's when it really happens because you're watching the screen. And let's say something happens crazy or something happens fun or it's just it's not going in the direction you had planned, you have to be willing to say, let it go. Everybody take a deep breath. We're going for it. So that's really when I think as a producer, all the other stuff is prep and you have to go in with a plan, but you have to be willing to deviate from that plan, especially in morning shows.
What key skills do you need to be a television producer?
I think first and foremost, you have to have passion for it because it's a hard business to get into. I always say it's not for the faint of heart. If you're going to be discouraged, that's a much better word. If you're going to be discouraged easily, it's a tough business because you go and you go and you go, and a lot of times you hit a brick wall. So you have to really want it, not because your parents want it for you. You have to. If you don't have that passion, this is not a business you want to get into. And then secondly, at least in America, you have to have an education. But at most of the companies, the networks, you really can't get in without a college degree. So a lot of people think, oh, I'll just talk to my cousin and get in, but that's not the way it works. So I say first and foremost, passion. You have to be educated. And third, you have to know that it's going to be a tough road, but the end is so rewarding and exciting that you're willing to take that chance. You have to be somewhat of a risk taker, I think.
Are there any times in particular that you've had to be resilient in your job?
Well, I wish I could say there was only one time, but there's been a lot of times. So if I was to be totally honest, I would say one of my things that I didn't like about myself when I was younger is I could cry very easily. And in this business, and when you're going at 100 miles an hour, obviously I was young, but like that was something I had to figure out how to like hang in there. Because I'm a very positive person, but there have been times where like you get you get a gut, just, hit in the gut because I was, for example, one example, I was promoted over the producer. I was under her and they thought I was better and promoted me over her. And there was such a backlash and such, I hate to say, mean girls situation going on that I had to rise above that and make them all sort of become on my side rather than go after me. So that, I like to think as women, we all help each other, but that was a situation where it really became the mean girls and I had to navigate that. And we ended up becoming maybe not friends, but certainly colleagues, but I definitely had to navigate that. My first day of graduate school, the professor said, look around, all these people will be your colleagues at some point, and they're the same people. You better be nice to them going up because they're the same people you're going to see going down. And it's true. It's all about relationships. The show I oversee right now, the executive producer, I'm his boss, but 20 years ago, he was my boss. So it's true. You really do have to learn how to get along, you have a lot of different personalities and you do have to learn to get along with everybody and sort of sometimes, I don't want to use the manipulate, but sometimes manage personalities that are really not good personalities. You have to figure out how to manage that person.
Can you give us an example of an exciting moment in your career?
When I look back on my career and I met so many exciting people, one of the highlights was, which I never expected, was I got to meet presidents. And no matter what side of the pond you're on, no matter what side you're on, you meet a president, it's pretty exciting. So I did a live show from the White House, and I was actually in a segment with Mrs. Bush because we did a thing called Club Mom, and I would take my headsets off and I would be in the segment as one of the moms. So I was in the segment with Mrs. Bush at the White House, which was pretty exciting, with Hillary Clinton in our studios at ABC. We did a live hour at the White House with the Clintons and both Bushes, Fords, Carters, and President Reagan. That, if anything, besides celebrities, meeting presidents is something you never think you're going to have in your career. And that was mind-boggling and overwhelming in an exciting way.
Who has been your favorite celebrity to work with?
Oh, boy, that's a really good question. I'm going to say two. Well, this will kind of surprise people or maybe not. I was really impressed by Simon Cowell. So I worked at Fox and during American Idol, Pop Idol, American Idol. And he has this reputation of being so tough and so hard. And the first couple of times I met him, he was so nice. He was sort of obsessed with the show I was producing at the time. So he would always come on as a guest. But I brought my kids and their friends to American Idol. to the tapings. He would get us tickets. And he would take the time, talk to them about the show. These were middle schoolers, which he did not have to take the time to do. So I think I was over the years, the most impressed with someone who has a reputation of being so tough and mean and not a nice person, and actually is such a nice person.
Have you ever been to London?
London to me is probably the most beautiful city. And especially when I was there with my husband at Christmas, boy, London knows how to do Christmas. Every little nook and cranny was filled with the most classy and beautiful decorations. I fell in love with London a long time ago, but mostly at Christmas, it was enchanting. The other thing I love about London is when you walk the streets, the architecture is so beautiful and old. You know, in LA, you don't get old. You don't get, oh, this happened hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago. So you have all this history. I'll also say the people of London are so nice and so friendly. And I get lost a lot, and I always got help when I was lost. But the people of London, from the time I went when I was a young person till now as an adult, such kind, friendly, wonderful, warm people.
Why is it important for there to be more women in the television industry?
I think it's getting better, but certainly when I started, you know, I would be in a room, and this was for 15 years. I would be in a room and I'd be the only female. I use that to my advantage. I mean, if you watch the Oscars or the Emmys or any award shows, people that go up are mostly men. You don't see a lot of women. Again, it's changing, and good for all the girls out there, because we need to be the people that change it. But it didn't used to be this way. So I use it to my advantage. If I'm in a room, I'll say, but I have a point of view you don't have. Especially in daytime television, which I work in a lot, which is female oriented. All these men sit around and make decisions, and I say, but you're not the person watching it. So I use it to my advantage.
Can you give an example of someone who to you is a bright mind?
I would say on a personal level, my grandmother, because she graduated 6th grade, opened her own business, a bridal business, was a businesswoman long before any woman ever had a business, worked out of the home, and she was just so passionate about these bridal gowns. And just recently, my brother showed me an ad back from the 50s that would say, handmade gown, beautiful gown, $89. And I thought, wow, she was such a pioneer, and she influenced me so much. I didn't realize it when I was younger, but as I got older, I realized I sort of have her grit, and I sort of have her personality and her tenacity. So I think she probably has influenced me the most in my life.
What is the next thing in your bright future?
Well, believe it or not, I think I will go back to teaching. I will either, when I eventually retire, I will either substitute teach or teach high school or college. I used to always say when I was younger, when I retire someday, I'm going to go into teaching. It's still in my heart. I love mentoring young people, and I do it all the time. So somebody will call me and say, will you talk to my son, or will you talk to my daughter? So I love that age group, and I love young people. So I think teaching will be in my future, actually.
Thank you so much to Lisa Kridos for her mini Minerva lecture. We are so grateful that she has shared her thoughts and ideas with us.
Think you have what it takes to be a television producer? Check out the Bright Ideas projects that you could try yourself. Thank you for watching this mini Minerva lecture.